Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video, I'm going to be going over some things that you can do to prepare for the upcoming first Savage tier of Dawntrail. For those who don't know, Savage is basically the main raid difficulty. Normal mode is really meant to let people get through the story, and the next closest thing you have is the Extreme Trials, which is what you would really want to do leading into this. You'll also want to do Savage raiding if you want to get up to the ultimate tier of difficulty, and we will be getting a new ultimate raid in the 7.1x series. For a lot of us, we're just going through the motions. We've done a bunch of Savage raiding before. It's really a formality until we get to that ultimate raid later in the expansion. But for a lot of people, an expansion start is an opportunity to try something they haven't tried before. They might be doing their first extreme trials they've ever done, and very likely doing the first Savage raids they've ever done as well, whether you're brand new to the game or you've played for a while and just finally decided it's time. And as such, I always get a bunch of questions. People want to make sure they're not missing anything. Is there something they're not doing that can make it easier for themselves? How important are food and pots, crafted gear, melts, anything and everything? And while I have a bunch of advice to give people, realistically, before you even watch this video, just get out of your head a little bit. Savage, yes, it's more difficult than everything else, but the biggest thing you can do to prepare is not hype it up to be more than it is. You will struggle, you will die, it will be difficult, but don't overthink it. Just focus on what the game is asking you to do. And like all of us, you'll pick up the skills that you need. But if you're looking for any direct advice about resources you can prepare and how important certain things are, I'm still going to give that to you in this video. So first, let's talk about the most basic thing that you can prepare ahead of Savage, and that is some gear. Now, there will be new gear coming out the day of Savage's release, and I'm going to talk about that in great detail a bit later. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to have some of the gear now. It'll definitely save you some money later, and it's just a good thing to make sure you've done the content that actually gives the gear that you can get in advance. For example, the first Extreme Trial drops item level 710 weapons, and the second one drops item level 710 accessories, the highest available at this moment. You can also earn additional 710 pieces from the Arcadian Normal. While you can only roll on each token once per week, that means you can collect at the very least one piece, maybe two. It really depends on the substats. You want to usually get rid of stats that you don't want. For example, as a physical ranged player, my pants, my item level 700 pants, have skill speed on them, and I really don't want that. So I grabbed the Arcadian normal pants and upgraded them to 710. Anything that you have that isn't item level 710 should be item level 700, which you can buy with Tomestones of Aesthetics over in Solution 9. Now, this is what I recommend having before it comes out, but it's not really what a lot of us hardcore raiders are going to be using, at least past the first couple of fights. On Savage release day, they are going to be releasing a whole new set of gear that can be crafted that will all be item level 710. Now, of course, the day Savage comes out, it's going to be very, very expensive to outright buy this off the market board. So if you're not making it yourself, this may just be an option for you somewhere down the line, which is why I really recommend trying to have as much of this other 710 gear as possible. Not to mention that by practicing your job in the first and second Extreme Trial, and even in the Arcadian Normal, you'll learn how to play better, and through the Arcadian Normal, you'll learn a little bit about the bosses, and that knowledge really does carry over and is crucial to not wiping to very simple things when you get into Savage. Now, the crafted gear already comes with the advantage of being item level 710, which in terms of just vitality alone is well worth getting that item level upgrade over the Tombstone of Aesthetic items. But it does come with another very important thing that you'll have to consider, and that is the ability to forbidden meld up to 5 materia onto it. Now, I know that doesn't seem like a lot because materia just looks like a few substats here and there, but when you consider that you could be wearing a full set of crafted gear and have pentamelds across everything, and all 8 of the players could potentially have this, the difference between a full 710 person who doesn't have pentamelds and one that does is at least enough to warrant the consideration in that first week. Now, that's a lot of materia because with forbidden melding, you run the risk of actually losing it. So how do you collect materia to prepare for Savage? Well, the biggest thing I can recommend is hunt, hunt, hunt. Not the hunts that you have at the board over in Tuliolal, but actually the hunts that are out in the open world, what the hunt community calls A rank and S rank hunts, as your achievement list does too. These all have a chance of dropping grade 11 and grade 12 currencies that will allow you to just exchange them for whatever materials you want of that range. A ranks have about a 50% chance of dropping them, and the S ranks should drop them every time. The big thing is actually learning about when these are happening, and for that I recommend Googling your own data center, or even your own server's Discord, to learn a little bit more about when those hunt trains are going to happen. Just a little bit of research that you'll have to do. So once you've collected a bunch of prismatic clusters for grade 11 materia and nova clusters for grade 12, then you're going to want to actually go through with your forbidden melding. Now, mind you, the materia melder NPC cannot do this. Only an actual player can. So if you don't have any crafters leveled, you're going to have to find a friend who can do this for you. On the guaranteed slots, you're going to want to put a grade 12 in each, and then you can overmeld a single grade 12 after that. All remaining slots must be an odd number grade, ideally those grade 11s. Now keep in mind the odds of melding go down significantly, meaning that if you fail, you will actually lose the materia and it will be destroyed. It's why unless you have a lot of gil, I usually recommend farming hunts instead of just going to the market board and getting all of the materia that the hunters themselves actually are putting up there. Now, your chance of failing for that first overmelded grade 12 should be 17%. But then you're going to be looking at 10, 7, and even on accessories down to 5% to get those grade 11s. So you can lose a lot of materia this way. It's usually best to, especially with the grade 11s, have several hundred, at least 500 probably, tucked away to make sure that you have enough. My personal advice, focus down all the major grade 12 melds as these are the most important. Once you've overmelded these, then do your highest percentage odds grade 11 melds. Don't do the 10% and then try to force the 7% when you could get the 10% odds across the board on everything else. Then same deal, focus on the 7% before the accessories ask you to do the 5%. You just want to have the best odds of getting as many melds completed before you actually run out, if you're even going to run out. But that's just what I do. And really, don't sweat it if you don't get the full pentas. Get those grade 12s on there. If you can get some grade 11s, go right ahead. But it's not that big a deal. It's an edge that you otherwise wouldn't have. Now, the same day that new crafted gear comes out, there will also be newer food and pots that you're going to want to use. And I can't stress this enough. Do not try to do Savage without food and pots, especially in the first week. The food doesn't just provide a few basic substats. It also provides essential vitality, which can give you just enough health to squeak out, especially when everyone doesn't really have a lot of gear in that first week. And the pots allow you to create bigger outliers on your burst windows, which increase your overall DPS by a considerable number. When all 8 players do it, it's significant. I know it may not seem like a lot, but trust me, it is. Now, even though there's new stuff coming out, I definitely recommend having some of the old stuff available if you're planning on going into Savage right away, whether that's through the Party Finder or with your static. And when I mean right away, I mean before you'll have the chance to play otherwise. It's just a good backup in case you won't be able to grab the new gem drops or whatever the new food is. So I have a stack of Turtle Super, almost a full stack at least, and then a stack of grade 1 gem drops, which I probably won't go through in the first 2 fights when we're actually going through in Rage. You can have more than this, and honestly, if you don't have a lot of gil and you can't afford the new stuff because it's hot on the market, don't be afraid to buy this stuff. You really want to show up with some consumables before you go into this stuff in the first week. I really can't stress that enough. Now, to help with all of this crafting, whether you're doing it yourself or even just having a friend do it, or maybe you just want to make a little bit of gil the week of and you don't plan on doing any crafting, most people would recommend capping all of your currencies, all of your relevant currencies. Maybe not nuts, but cap your tomestones of aesthetics, cap your fate gemstones, and cap your scripts. We have some idea of what to expect. The folklore items that you can gather on a level 100 gatherer right now, having a bunch of those is a good idea. The aesthetic stuff, we're going to be getting new materials for tomestones of aesthetics, and those have always been used. The uncapped tome has always had materials that's used for the new crafted gear, new food, and new pots. So definitely recommending having 2,000 aesthetics tucked away. And heck, if you want to go the extra mile with that, you can actually grab a Wondrous Tales this week and aim for one of the bonuses that has aesthetic tomes. Don't get me wrong, if you can get a 2-line bonus like you see me have here, then great. But I just want the 1-line bonus, and I did not shuffle into it. So if I don't get it, it's not the end of the world. But hey, it's just a little bit of extra work to have a little bit of extra aesthetics. Whether you're preparing or you just plan on selling all the materials on the market board. Heck, maybe you'll get lucky and get 3 lines, and 3 lines is something you could also do for Savage Prep. That gold cert at the bottom, you can actually exchange that for a body piece the week that Savage comes out that has 5 guaranteed melds on it, meaning they can all be grade 12s. Those usually go for 20 plus mil to raiders looking to do it week 1. So if you can have a gold cert for any Savage release, you can probably find a buyer, and you will almost certainly make 20 to maybe, if you're lucky, 25 million gil, depending on the server. Now you've got your food, you've got your pots, you've got your gear, you're all ready to go. But is there anything else that you're forgetting? Well, honestly, just practicing your job at level 100 is a pretty good idea, whether that's in the extreme trials or the Arcadian normal. Heck, my group has actually been doing low item level of the previous raids as well. This is kind of a trick of the numbers where we stay at level 100 and wear less gear to try to get close to the same values that we would have had, both damage, damage taken, and healing outgoing of that era. It's largely experimental, and the gear sets that we were testing out are not 100% finalized yet, although they did feel really good. So I'll probably make a follow-up video about the low item level stuff once the creators of that, who happen to be in my static, decide on everything across all of the tiers. That way I don't have to make like an Omega one, an Alexander one. I don't want to have to worry about doing them all separate videos when I could just wait till they're all done and then share it with you like I did last expansion. But it's a lot of fun, and I always look back on doing the low item level stuff as a good time, as you can see here. Oh, and this isn't even in my notes, but I just remembered it. Don't forget about the Trial by Spire, which is essentially the Stone Sky Sea equivalent that can be found over in, well, Heritage Found after you've unlocked it in Solution 9. It's in the outskirts, so you're just going to want to go there and then ask for which encounter to test against. Honestly, for now, you can test your rotation against the Extreme Trials, but when Savage comes out, they will get added to this as well. So if you're ever not sure about your overall rotation, if you haven't done the research, or you just finally looked up your opener and just really want to get comfortable, that's not a bad way to do it. Mind you that it's going to be a little bit tight for some jobs, especially with the gear, being pretty sparse at that point. But it's definitely a good idea to make sure you can at least get close to a kill on whatever job you're playing, if not outright kill it with a few seconds remaining. So that's another piece of advice I almost forgot. And honestly, that's it. I wasn't going to make this video because I guess for me, this is all second nature stuff, but I understand that for a lot of you, it matters a lot that your first impression of Savage is a semi-decent one, whether you're going in with friends for the first time or going into the party finder, which, woo, good luck. I hope you have the patience of a saint for that one. But again, I want to reiterate what I said at the beginning of the video. And this is not just true of Extreme Trials or Savage raids. It's kind of just true of anything in Final Fantasy XIV. There's a lot of activities that people feel intimidated by because there's a lot of information about how to do them. I've seen it with Eureka, Bozia, individual relics. I've seen it with Extremes and Savage and Ultimates. And honestly, I've seen it with big fishing. People just tell themselves that it's an impossible mountain to climb and that they can't do it, when realistically, the game gives you all the tools to do it. You just kind of have to want to. So don't think it's beyond you. Don't think that it's something that you can't achieve because you've never done it before. Just accept what your place is in it, that you're new, you're going to have to learn, and that's okay. You might run into some bad experiences here and there. I mean, we all do at this point, don't we? More so nowadays than ever before, it seems. But at the end of the day, you can't let it scare you off. You just got to dive right in. Give it a try. Maybe you have fun. Maybe you don't. That's how most people get into raiding. They just try it and find out they really like it. So hopefully that's the case for you, but if not, that's fine too. It's not a big deal. And that's going to be a wrap for my video on stuff that you can do to prepare for the upcoming Savage tier. Hopefully you give it a shot and hopefully you have a good time. But thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And stay tuned. I will be posting videos of my clears, guides, all that stuff for those upcoming Savage fights. And with that, I will see you in the next one. Until then, take care.